The Chicago Blackhawks go for a second win in a row against the Kraken. I'll preview the matchup and talk about Connor Bedard being moved to the wing.
You're Locked On Blackhawks, your daily podcast on the Chicago Blackhawks, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of Locked On Blackhawks, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Real quick, just a reminder to please do me a quick favor. Go and hit that like button. Comment down below as well as to your reaction on Connor Bedard being moved to the wing tonight, as well as your prediction of tonight's matchup with the Seattle Kraken. Last but certainly not least, be sure that you're subscribed to Locked On Blackhawks on YouTube, even if you're someone who regularly listens through an audio platform. Please make sure you jump over to YouTube and hit that button for me. Won't cost you anything, 100% free, and really does help me out tremendously. Gotta let you all know as well that today's episode is sponsored by FanDuel. If you're not already a member, go and visit FanDuel.com right now to have a chance to win $150 worth of bonus bets if your first $5 bet cashes with America's #1 sportsbook. All right, good morning, everyone. Again, thank you all for joining me on another episode of Locked On Blackhawks, your one-stop shop for all things Chicago Blackhawks. Hope everyone's Thursday has gotten off to a wonderful start. Still battling the flu, whatever I've kind of been dealing with these last couple of days. The voice certainly sounds better here today, though, which has me excited. And the Blackhawks are going for 2 consecutive wins for just the second time this season here tonight, as they'll be traveling out west once again, if you can believe it, for a quick 2-game road trip starting tonight against the Seattle Kraken at Climate Pledge Arena. 9 p.m. Central Time puck drop, by the way, will be televised on CHSN. However, as I kind of talked about yesterday, the CHSN direct-to-consumer app is supposed to be launched later on this week, and the official date has been announced. Blackhawks fans will be able to purchase their direct-to-consumer app starting on Friday. So this will be the final game that only fans can watch CHSN through DirecTV or Fubo. There still isn't a deal with Xfinity, but as I referenced yesterday as well, seems like there is being some progress made, but this is the final Blackhawks game before the app officially launches on Friday. By the way, go and jump in the comment section down below and let me know whether you're going to be someone who purchases the app. The official price has not dropped as of yet, but it's estimated to be right around the $19.99 mark that Cubs fans are asked to pay for the marquee subscription, if that is the case. If it is $19.99, do you think that's too high? Do you think that's too low? Are you interested in purchasing the app? Are you not? Make sure to go and let me know down below in the comment section. But this is the first of 3 meetings between the Blackhawks and the Seattle Kraken here this year. The Blackhawks, of course, sit 6-9-1, coming off of a big 2-1 overtime victory against the Minnesota Wild on Sunday. The Seattle Kraken are currently 7-8-1 through their opening 16 games, currently a pair of points ahead of the Blackhawks in the Western Conference standings. Was a little bit of a tricky finish to October and beginning of November for the Kraken, as they dropped 7 of 8 games during that stretch before kind of righting the ship this past week, getting back on track and earning 2 consecutive victories over the Vegas Golden Knights and besting the Columbus Blue Jackets 5-2 in their most recent matchup. Taking a look at some of the numbers and stats for the Seattle Kraken through their opening 16 games, power play currently sits 20th in the NHL at 18%. Same with the penalty kill, 20th in the league as well. At the faceoff dot, it has also been a struggle for the Kraken, like the Blackhawks early on this year. 24th out of 32 teams with a 49% faceoff win percentage. And then in terms of goals for per game, they're 17th. Goals against per game, they're 16th. So pretty much middle of the pack in every notable team statistic for the Blackhawks. Looks like they got some advantages here. They're 12th on the power play in the top half of the NHL, even though the man advantage really hasn't been consistent through these first 16 games. They still are getting the finished product from time to time. Would like to see the product, though, carry a bit more consistency. The penalty kill for the Blackhawks, huge effort against the Wild on Sunday to go 3 for 3. That has them up to 18th in the NHL at 79% this year. Faceoffs, though, have really given the Blackhawks an issue, which, to be fair, isn't that surprising considering who they're icing at center right now. 29th out of 32 teams, winning 46% of their faceoffs. Not good enough. Hopefully the Blackhawks can win that battle here tonight against another team that's a little deficient in the dot. In terms of goals for per game, Blackhawks are 26th in the NHL, only averaging 2.5 goals a game, the weakness of this team. However, defensively, they're 12th in the NHL, allowing only 3.06 goals per game. So the defensive side of things, the goaltending, as I've referenced many times on the show since the beginning of the new year, this is looking like it's going to be a strength for this Blackhawks team this season. And quite honestly, I know it's not the most exciting style, but the boring mentality that they kind of went with, the shutdown boring method against the Minnesota Wild, particularly for the opening 40 minutes, I think that's a recipe for success for the Blackhawks. If they can try to play that style and muck it up in the neutral zone more frequently, I think that's going to work wonders for them, and they should try to win a lot of games via a low-scoring margin. Looking at some of the individual players for the Seattle Kraken, guys to keep a star next to or to be keeping an eye on every time they're out there on the ice, Jared McCann is their leading scorer, and he's actually top 20 in the NHL in points right now. One of the best stories here in the early portion of the season. McCann has 19 points through the opening 16 games this year, 8 goals and 11 assists. Jordan Eberle and Brandon Montour are actually the only other members of the Kraken that have reached double-digit points through their opening 16. Eberle has 6 goals and 5 assists for 11 points, while Montour has been the leading driver on the back end with 4 goals and 7 assists. However, what is noticeable is the amount of depth scoring that the Seattle Kraken get. Chandler Stevenson, Matty Beniers, Jaden Schwartz, they all have 9 points. There's a lot of good depth. They can roll out 3 forward lines. Heck, even their fourth line, as I'll get into here in just a moment, has a guy by the name of Yanni Gord on it. So pretty good depth up front for the Seattle Kraken. And then looking at some of their numbers from their goaltenders, Joey Daccord, who is one of the up-and-comers in between the pipes in the league, has gotten off to a really good start this year as their starter. 6-3-1 through 10 appearances with a 2.71 goals against and a .916 save percentage. Philip Grubauer has been used as the Kraken's backup for the majority of the season. Hasn't gotten off to the best start, only 1 win in 6 appearances with a goals against above 3, a save percentage well below .900. However, Philip Grubauer isn't going to serve as the Kraken's backup here tonight, as apparently he's out due to a home accident. I didn't click on the article and go into deeper reading on this. I hope everything's okay for Philip Grubauer, but doesn't seem like he's going to be serving as the backup here tonight. And in the Kraken's most recent game, the win that I mentioned earlier against the Columbus Blue Jackets, Alec Stezka served as the backup. He was a 2015 4th-round pick by the Minnesota Wild, who jumped over to North America and played his first year in the AHL last season, put up some pretty good numbers in the minor leagues, however, has never made an appearance at the NHL level. So have a feeling it's going to be Joey Daccord tonight with Seattle having that situation going on and also a couple of days worth of rest since their last game, but never know. Maybe Alec Stezka gets the nod in for his first ever NHL game. Don't expect that to be the case, but something to note going into tonight's matchup. And there is my quick opponent breakdown of the Seattle Kraken, as I do prior to every Blackhawks game. Coming up in just a moment, though, Blackhawks fans, I'll dive into the new look forward lines that Luke Richardson rolled with, including Connor Bedard being moved to the wing. But first, I got to talk to you all about the fine folks over at FanDuel. Get ready to tackle the NFL action in the second half of the regular season with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Because right now, new customers can bet $5 and will have the chance to win $150 worth of bonus bets if that first $5 bet wins. And the FanDuel Sportsbook app now gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL all in one place, so that when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you also happen to place your bets. And I know it has been an absolutely brutal stretch for our Chicago Bears. Nightmare after nightmare after nightmare. And now they got the Green Bay Packers coming to Soldier Field on Sunday. If you want to bet on the Bears to pull off a miracle, or if you want to fade them and bet on the Green Bay Packers, either way, be sure to go and check out FanDuel.com. And if you're not already a member, you'll get started with a chance to win $150 worth of bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. Again, that's the promo code LOCKEDONNHL in all caps to win $150 worth of bonus bets if your first $5 deposit cashes. Never waste a hunch and make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the National Football League. I also got to talk to you all about SelectQuote, the World Series, the Super Bowl, the Olympics. The world's top athletes get to play in these top-level sporting events thanks to one thing: teamwork. And teamwork can also protect your financial legacy and your family's future. SelectQuote's licensed insurance agents are the perfect teammates when shopping for customized, affordable life insurance because they can find you the right policy to keep your financial legacy safely in your family's end zone. And in sports, winning is everything. That's why you always need a good strategy to keep you moving towards the goalposts. Winning strategies for life are just as important. That's why on my team, I have life insurance through SelectQuote for you. To protect my legacy and my family's financial future. Get the right life insurance for you for less at selectquote.com/LockedOnNHL. Again, go to selectquote.com/LockedOnNHL today to get started looking for your life insurance. Back here on the Locked On Blackhawks podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Just wanted to say thank you again to everyone for making Locked On Blackhawks your very first listen here to start off your day. Now, for your second listen, be sure to go and check out the Locked On Fantasy Hockey podcast so that you can become a fantasy hockey expert against your league mates with daily tips from Steal and Flip. And you can easily find the link to Locked On Fantasy Hockey down in the description of this video, or you can simply search on YouTube and wherever you may be listening to your podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Segment 2, getting into the Blackhawks' projected lineup for tonight's matchup against the Kraken out west in Seattle. First things first, Alec Martinez could very well make his return to the lineup for the first time since October 15th in Calgary, man. It's been a while since we've seen number 25 on the back end. He's missed the last 12 games for the Blackhawks due to that nagging groin injury that we saw force him to miss some time during the preseason as well. But fortunately, after we've seen him skating with the Blackhawks for the last week or so now, he was, of course, skating prior to practices for a little bit there as well. He did finally join the defensive pairing rushes for the first time yesterday down at Fifth Third Arena before the Blackhawks flew out west to Seattle, which was absolutely great to see. Again, that's the first time it's happened since he's been out with the injury. And following the practice session yesterday, Luke Richardson spoke with the media. Didn't officially say that Alec Martinez was going to be back, but seeing him in the defensive pairing rushes certainly was a good sign. And Richardson mentioned that it's a possibility for Martinez to return tonight if his body feels good, which I personally expect him to go. Wouldn't be the craziest thing in the world if they wait until Saturday in Vancouver, but I'm sure Alec Martinez is itching. I don't think they would have put him in the line rushes if they didn't feel like there was a pretty good chance for him to go. So keeping my fingers crossed that he's going to return on the back end tonight. That is a big piece just in terms of depth for the Blackhawks blue line, because Wyatt Kaiser's been up there on the top pairing with Seth Jones ever since. Alex Vlasic been mostly on the second pairing with Connor Murphy. And Kaiser's had some good games, but he's had some tough games there as well. And I just don't know if he's quite ready for that true top pairing defenseman type of role. Whereas Alec Martinez, I mean, that's a breath of fresh air for him. That's nothing new. This is what he's been doing for the last decade plus in the NHL as a Stanley Cup caliber defenseman. Having him back just takes a little bit of weight off of everyone's shoulders, particularly Alex Vlasic and Seth Jones. It kind of allows them to do their jobs a little bit more. Martinez is a big factor on the penalty kill and in defensive situations as well. So that makes things easier for Connor Murphy. He can take less off of TJ Brodie's plate, which you don't want a lot on his plate right now in the first place. So Alec Martinez returning is going to help the Blackhawks in many, many different ways. Hopefully that is the case here tonight, that he's good enough to go. I estimated about a week ago that I thought he was going to return on Sunday when the Blackhawks made their trip back home to the UC. Didn't end up going there, but we'll take, one game later here against the Seattle Kraken. Also wanted to be sure to mention that with Martinez being on the precipice of a return, the Blackhawks elected to send Isaac Phillips back to the Rockford Ice Hogs of the AHL. Once again, continues to be Abe Simpson gif, just walking through the door and walking right out. His itinerary, which Ben Pope posted on social media, has been absolutely ridiculous. The poor guy hasn't had a stationary home for more than like a week here in the opening month and a half of the regular season, but that's how it goes on the grind. Personally, though, I would have liked to see Isaac Phillips get a little bit more action. I think he only played in 2 or 3 games while he was up here. Played all right, scored his first goal of the season. I'd like to see him a little bit more, but it feels like the Blackhawks really want to be giving Nolan Allen an opportunity. And even though sending Phillips back to Rockford and whenever Martinez does get activated, it's going to leave Nolan Allen potentially as the 7th defenseman. I'm sure TJ Brodie is going to rotate in that spot if he's not able to pick up his game here moving forward as well. But seems like the Blackhawks are okay with Nolan Allen being the 7th defenseman from time to time, which is, a little bit of a curious decision. It feels like the Blackhawks aren't going to be doing it often enough where it's going to become a real issue. And if it were to, I anticipate that Kyle Davidson would recognize the situation and rather get Nolan Allen some games down at the AHL level, but doesn't really seem like he wants to do that at this point. Feels like he's comfortable. If Nolan Allen has to sit out for a game or two, he's going to do that. So seems like that's kind of the situation on the back end for the Blackhawks. Nolan Allen and TJ Brodie, if/when Martinez returns tonight or on Saturday against Vancouver, feels like that's going to be the situation on D for the Blackhawks with Isaac Phillips now in Rockford. Also got to get into the new look forward lines that Coach Luke Richardson rolled with yesterday down at Fifth Third Arena. We've seen him hit the blender button numerous times here early on in the season. Nothing has really clicked with this Blackhawks forward group, particularly inside the top 6. New line mates once again for Connor Bedard, which has been a story of the early portion of the season. However, there is a little bit of a new change as Bedard is not going to be playing the center ice position tonight. He's going to be skating on the top line with Philip Kurashev and Teuvo Teravainen, who actually have some pretty good analytics with one another. Richardson mentioned that after their game on Sunday, he was going to look at some of the analytics and kind of consider that when going through the forward lines that he wanted to roll with. And he noticed that Kurashev, Bedard, and Teravainen have actually put up some pretty good numbers this year. So I don't hate seeing this trio together once again. I like it better, though, when Connor Bedard is at the wing. I think you got to give him a new opportunity because what's happening right now with him playing the center position and driving the puck down the middle, it's just not working right now. And he has been struggling at the faceoff dot, of course, so far here this year. So he hasn't been playing a true center ice position, even though he's still been listed there from time to time. He's been helped by Teravainen, Kurashev, Nick Foligno, whoever he's skating with at the faceoff dot. But this is the first time where he's going to be in a different spot in terms of the structure of the forward lines. So I'm really curious to see how that's going to work for Connor Bedard. Is he still going to be the primary puck carrier in transition and through the neutral zone? Is that going to turn into Philip Kurashev now that he's playing the center ice position? And if that is Kurashev, is he able to lug the mail into the offensive zone and find Connor Bedard at the wing for maybe some more shots? And that's what we need to get going with Connor Bedard, is the goal scoring abilities. He's been so snake bitten this year. I don't hate the move to wing. Maybe that gets him going. I would also like to see him just continuously want to fire the puck at the left dot on that power play. Too special of a shot to only have 3 goals through his opening 16 games. Second line for the Blackhawks tonight looks like it's going to be going back to the Hall, Foligno, and Bertuzzi trio. And I'll tell you what, Blackhawks fans, I don't hate this second line but I've been preaching on the show for a long time. I think you got to get Tyler Bertuzzi, who's starting to play some really good hockey here. I think you got to get him up with Connor Bedard. I would love to see Bedard at the left wing, Kurashev at the center ice position, and Tyler Bertuzzi at the right wing. To me, that's the top line I think the Blackhawks should go with. I think Kurashev, Bedard, Teravainen can work, but they're just all undersized, and there's no grit, there's no scrappiness, there's no ability to dump the puck in and go and win battles. It's not Kurashev's game, it's not Teravainen's game, it's not Connor Bedard's game either. So that's personally why I'd like to see Bertuzzi there, but don't hate Hall, Foligno, and Bertuzzi getting another run here tonight. The certified goal scorer, the new certified goal scorer this year, Ryan Donato, is skating on the third line with last year's certified goal scorer, Jason Dickinson. Joey Anderson looks like he's going to be in the lineup once again here tonight. And then, no surprise, Pat Maroon, Lucas Reichel, Craig Smith going to round things out with Ilya Mikheyev serving as a healthy scratch for the second consecutive game. On the back end for the Blackhawks, I mentioned Alec Martinez skated in the defensive pairing rushes yesterday. He was back in his usual spot on the top pairing with Seth Jones, knocking on wood. That will be the case here this evening. Alex Vlasic, Connor Murphy look like they're going to remain as the second pairing, with Wyatt Kaiser and TJ Brody rounding things out as the third pairing. That leaves Nolan Allen as the seventh defenseman. Now, if Martinez isn't able to go, Kaiser will jump back up on that top pairing with Jones. Allen will jump back into the lineup with TJ Brody. Those are the two situations we could see tonight for the Blackhawks on the back end. As far as who we can expect to see in goal, no official word as of the time of this recording, as it's still only 8:45 a.m. Central Time. But I do expect Peter Mrazek to get the nod. It's been a couple of days off for him after a stellar 32-save win to help lead the Blackhawks over the Wild 2-1 in overtime. Another reason why I do believe Mrazek is going to get the start here tonight is I looked at Arvid Soderblom's career numbers in Seattle, and this guy's got some bad juju at Climate Pledge Arena. 2 starts, 13 goals allowed, been pulled in both of them. So, yeah, let's let Arvid Soderblom get the go in Vancouver on Saturday, where if I was going through the numbers and his game logs correctly, I don't believe he's ever played in Vancouver nor played against the Vancouver Canucks. I could be wrong on that. My eyes may have deceived me when scanning through the data, but if those numbers are true, I would certainly give Peter Mrazek the nod here tonight at Climate Pledge Arena. Keep Arvid Soderblom off of the ice until Saturday in Vancouver. That's the way that I would be going about it. Real quick, did want to jump through the projected lineup for the Seattle Kraken as well to give you all a little bit of an idea of their combinations and pairings. Jared McCann, Matty Beniers, and Jordan Eberle, the deadly trio up top for the Kraken offense. Jaden Schwartz, Chandler Stevenson, and Oliver Bjorkstrand there on the second pairing. On the second line, Ellie Tolvanen, Shane Wright, who's really struggled so far this year, just 2 points through his opening 16 games, centering the third line with Andrei Burakovsky, and then Ty Cartier, Yanni Gourde, as I mentioned earlier, and Brandon Tanev rounding things out for the fourth line for the Kraken. 4 lines that I think they feel real comfortable rolling out there. And then on the back end, Riker Evans, Adam Larson as the top pairing for Seattle, Jamie Alexiak and Brandon Montour, a really good second pairing, I think. But Josh Mahura, Will Borgen round things out on the third pairing. I know Riker Evans, offensively, he's gotten off to a really good start this year. He's actually the second leading point scorer among Kraken defensemen through their opening 16 games. But if I'm calling a spade here, this doesn't look like the most threatening blue line that I've seen in the entire world. That third pairing is something the Blackhawks really should try to take advantage of here tonight. And then in net, I don't expect the backup Ales Stezka to make his NHL debut. Fully expect Joey Daccord to get the nod in front of the Seattle faithful at Climate Pledge Arena here this evening. There is all the info you need before puck drop tonight in Seattle. Reminder, it's going to be a late 9 p.m. Central Time puck drop, unfortunately. Before I close things out on today's episode, don't go anywhere, Blackhawks fans, because I still have to get into my 3 keys to victory and best bets against the Kraken. But first, I got to talk to you all about Prize Picks. Prize Picks is America's #1 daily fantasy sports app with over 5 million active members. And Prize Picks is the easiest and most exciting way for you to now play daily fantasy sports, because all you got to do is pick more or less on 2 to 6 player stat projections and watch the winnings roll in. Do you think Connor Bedard is going to score more than 0.5 goals tonight against the Kraken? Or how about Seth Jones to record more than 2.5 shots on goal? You can now cook up hot takes with your friends and win real money this hockey season when you and your crew run your game with Prize Picks. And one thing that I really do enjoy about Prize Picks is that it's the only real daily fantasy platform with an injury insurance policy, so that your lineups stay in play even if one of your players were to go down with an injury. So be sure to go and download the Prize Picks app today and use the code LOCKEDONNHL in all caps, and you'll get $50 instantly when you play $5. Again, that's code LOCKEDONNHL in all caps with Prize Picks to win $50 when you put $5 down. Prize Picks, run your game. Bear with me for 1 second, Locked On Blackhawks fans. I have a noise going on in the corner of my room, and it's going to absolutely drive me crazy if I don't get to it. Thank you all for your patience. I really appreciate it. Back here on the Locked On Blackhawks podcast, segment 3. Before I close things up today, as always, I still have to get into my 3 keys to victory for the Blackhawks out on the West Coast for them to try and record a second consecutive victory for only the second time this year. My number 1 key to victory for the Blackhawks tonight is slow and steady can win the race. And I know when you hear that, you're probably like, what? You don't want the Blackhawks to play slow. And no, I don't want the Blackhawks to play slow. But guess what? I've watched them for 16 games outside of Lucas Reichel, Connor Bedard, and, well, Andreas Athanasiou only played in 5 of them. They really don't have speed on this team. They don't play fast. They play pretty slow. However, you don't necessarily need to play fast to win games in this league. Now, you would like to play fast to win games, and to win the Stanley Cup, you probably got to be a pretty fast team, but the Blackhawks, we know they're not in that type of position right here, right now. We know they don't have a lot of offensive firepower. 26th in the NHL in goals per game. The lack of speed is noticeable. The lack of depth scoring is noticeable. But we've seen teams get by with this grinded out defensive-minded style. Shout out the New York Islanders from a couple years ago under Barry Trotz's leadership. Now, he can muck it up like nobody else in the neutral and defensive zones. However, that New York Islanders team was still able to reach the conference finals in back-to-back years. What I'm trying to get at is it can be done. Mucking it up in the neutral zone, forechecking hard, making your opponent dump it into the D zone and not enter the offensive zone with speed, winning the one-on-one battles. It is possible, and we've seen it be a strength of this Blackhawks team, especially when Alec Martinez is in the lineup on the defensive side of things. So make life difficult on Seattle tonight. Slow and steady can win this race. You don't have to play the most exciting style to win games in this league. I think that slow it down, shut it down style for the Blackhawks in the neutral zone, where they're forechecking, back-checking hard, and also they're helping each other out in battles, right? I think the competition level in the engagement is noticeable when the Blackhawks are at their best. So let's get back to that here tonight. Let's take a page out of what we just did against the Minnesota Wild in the opening 40 minutes of that game. Kirill Kaprizov, one of the most dangerous offensive weapons in the NHL, really didn't have a lot of open ice and a lot of opportunities through the first 2 periods. Let's play with that same mentality here tonight. The Blackhawks are able to do that and play a low-scoring game. It's going to go a long way in terms of their chances of coming away with a win. My second key to victory is you can't fall asleep in the first period, Blackhawks. Again, take a page out of what you just did against the Minnesota Wild and get off to a good start, because taking a look at the most recent games for the Blackhawks in this building, the last 3, they've given up 7 goals, 7 goals, and 6 goals. And things got out of hand early in all 3 of those games. Blackhawks cannot let that happen here tonight. They cannot let the Kraken walk all over them in the opening 20 minutes. If they can keep things close, keep things tight, and play that defensive style right out of the gate, I like the Blackhawks' chances the rest of the way. The third and final key to victory that I have for the Blackhawks is for Philip Kurashev to build off of last game. It's been a really slow start for him. It's been disappointing, and I mentioned I had some concerns about him repeating the type of numbers he put up last year, given the additions the Blackhawks made, potentially not being locked up on the top line with Connor Bedard all year. But I'm hoping that Philipp Kurashev scoring that overtime winner against Minnesota for his third tuck of the season is something that will get him going. And Connor Bedard needs more help up on that top line. He hasn't gotten enough of it through the opening 16 games. And we know he and Bedard have some good chemistry that they established with one another last year. Let's see some of that tonight. And Philipp Kurashev, stay aggressive. You can't play this passive style of game that plagues him from time to time. We need him firing on all cylinders. We need him hounding pucks, aggressive mentality with and without the puck, and give Connor Bedard the support he needs tonight. Let's see some of that good chemistry that they established last year. As far as my best bet for tonight's matchup in Seattle, I did want to be sure to go and look at FanDuel as of right now, because when I wrote this down in preparation, it was late last night. The lines certainly could have changed. They haven't really changed much. Seattle, when I wrote this, was minus 162 as the favorite. They're now minus 166. So a little bit of money coming in on the Kraken. The Blackhawks are plus 138. Excuse me, still getting over, like I said. Still dealing with some things here, Blackhawks fans. The puck line, though, for the Kraken, minus 1.5. Plus 152, which is a good number if you're a Kraken fan, I think, considering how things have gone for them against the Blackhawks on home ice, while the Hawks plus 1.5 is minus 188. Over under at 5.5. Interestingly enough, the over is minus 124. Under is plus 102. And the reason I point that out is because the Kraken are, looking at the 9 past matchups between these two teams, the Kraken are 6-3-0 in the 9 matchups against the Hawks. However, 7 of the 9 meetings, including the past 6, have gone over 5.5. So if you're someone who wants to bet on the totals, or if that's kind of your gem, pretty good track record between these two teams in high-scoring matchups, particularly at Climate Pledge Arena, where the last 3, the Kraken have covered over 5.5 by themselves. Taking a look at what I want to get into in terms of some of the props, first I want to start with the goal scorers tonight. Connor Bedard is the favorite at plus 200. Jared McCann also tied with him at plus 200. Eberle at plus 240, Beniers plus 300, Schwartz plus 310, Shane Wright plus 320. He's got 1 goal in 16 games. Blah. Oliver Bjorkstrand plus 320, Foligno plus 330, Bertuzzi plus 340, Tolvanen plus 350, Stevenson 350, Hall 370, Burakovsky 370, Tavo 380, Donato 380, and Kurashev 410. There are some interesting numbers out there, Blackhawks fans. Who do I want to take tonight? And guess what? The goal scorers have been really hot on the podcast here. So I hope some people have been tailing along and winning money, because it's been pretty good since I've been doing these on the show. You know what? I'm just going to roll with Teuvo Teravainen tonight. Plus 380 anytime goal scorer. Playing on the top line. Playing on the top power play unit with the Blackhawks at the right dot. I know it's been a quiet stretch for Teuvo Teravainen, but give me him plus 380 to score a goal here tonight. As far as a parlay that I want to go with, kind of having to do this on the spot, I do apologize for that. I want to take something with Oliver Bjorkstrand, because he always kills the Blackhawks, I swear. I unfortunately can't take him to get a point. Can I take Bjorkstrand shots? What's Bjorkstrand to get 3 shots on goal? Do they have him listed? Oh, yeah, they do. Plus 142. Let's parlay that with someone to get 2 shots on goal, or maybe a point. Who do I think's getting a point tonight? Let's go Matty Beniers. Matty Beniers. There it is. I like this line. Matty Beniers to record more than 1 point, and Oliver Bjorkstrand to record more than 3 shots on goal. That's plus 321, Blackhawks fans. Along with the other play, Teuvo Teravainen, anytime goal scorer, plus 380. That's what I'm rolling with here tonight. Best of luck to the Blackhawks out on the West Coast. That's going to wrap up today's episode of Locked On Blackhawks. As always, thank you all again for joining me on the show. Be sure to go and follow Locked On Blackhawks for free right now, wherever you may be listening to your podcast, and to go and subscribe to Locked On Blackhawks on YouTube. That way, you can get the latest episode as soon as it becomes available each and every day. As always, I'm your host, Jack Bushman. You can find me on X at Jack Bushman2, but be sure to check out my Strictly Blackhawks account at Talkin' Hockey. That way, you can get the latest Blackhawks news and updates. So until tomorrow's episode, go Hawks. Let's get a big dub on the West Coast. I'll see you on tomorrow's episode of Locked On Blackhawks, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.